Welcome back to Alpha Mama 2023. It's a new year. Now we haven't posted on Alpha Mama for a little while, and I thought I'd get back on track in 2023 and we'd start doing our blog posts today. If you are looking at us on YouTube, you'll see that I'm joined today by little Maxwell 007 Smarty Dog. So we got a new puppy over Christmas. He's very cute. He's a Russian toy terrier, and he is going to join us for the show today. So who is Alpha Mama and what are we all about in our podcast? Alpha Mama brings you the lowdown on books in the self-development space. We do the reading and research so you can sit back, listen, and take the steps to live your best life and move towards a more grounded life that reflects your authentic self. Growing up, I didn't feel like I had a lot of great guidance. The lack of guidance in my own life led me to make choices that accumulated in me hitting rock bottom by the age of 30. I felt like I had no one to turn to, and that is when I turned to books and researching how to live my best life. Fast forward almost a decade and I have experienced total transformation. At Alpha Mama, we believe it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. The only thing you need to succeed at your life is the belief that you can and the commitment to carry through with backing yourself. A beautiful person once said to me, wherever I am is where I belong, and I believe whatever it is you desire is calling you, and the desire is an invitation for you to step into your power and step towards your best life and your most authentic self. So today, as promised in the most recent podcast, today we are starting the new year with one of my all-time favourite books, and that is called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, if you are already a multi-millionaire or you are interested or obsessed with success like we are, then chances are that you have heard of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill before. Who is Napoleon Hill? Napoleon Hill was basically a journalist back in the 40s, 20s, 30s. I think it was around the time of the Great Depression. And he was very curious about people who were able to maintain their wealth during the Depression, basically. And he followed a very wealthy person at the time. But then he also, as part of his research for this book, he basically studied in great detail over 100 millionaires in the US at the time to try and find out if there was some sort of pattern or secret to success. What was it that drove these people and also enabled them to accumulate and acquire great wealth? How were they so successful? One reason why I really love Think and Grow Rich is because it is not in any way delusional. Like it's really sound advice in terms of how to accumulate wealth, how to grow successful, how to develop and cultivate a success mindset. Basically, people who are very successful at what they do, people who become very successful with business, they're generally like just mildly unhinged in the sense that they're obsessed. They become so obsessed with perfection. They become obsessed with solving the problem. You know, one thing that I really personally love about business is that business is, in my perspective, really creative. It's about people who have problems and then they solve problems, which is amazing. So one thing that makes life really exciting for everyone is that we all have a lot of problems. We all have a lot of problems. We all have a lot of issues, which from when you think about it, if you didn't have issues, what the hell would you have? What would life be all about? And when you've got issues, then that's just fertile ground for purpose. And when you've got purpose, it means you've got fertile ground. Max, we're not chewing cords during our podcast. Thank you. So, sorry, my puppy has been chewing on the cord for the podcast, and we can't have that because we will lose all comms. That would be very awkward. So Think and Grow Rich, if you haven't read this book or you haven't listened to the whole book, I highly recommend that you download it. You can get it on YouTube for free. You can get it on Audible. You can probably borrow it from your local library. You can buy it on Amazon. Wherever, there are plenty of versions of this book. But if you are wanting to kickstart your year, like I'm kickstarting my year with a real like salt of the earth, get obsessed with success kind of book, I strongly recommend reading this book, getting your hands on this book. Now, what are the secrets that are expressed in Get Obsessed with Success? So, Think and Grow Rich. One of the really key attributes about the book that Napoleon Hill sort of mentions time and time again is he talks about developing mindset and having faith, having purpose, having drive. He calls one of the key elements is autosuggestion. In the modern context, what I would call autosuggestion is basically what we would say is self-hypnosis, breaking free from the shackles of your subconscious programming and overriding the program through self-hypnosis is effectively what this book is teaching you to do. And that's kind of the starting point for all the other elements. So he suggests there are 13 different elements of success, and he also throughout the book, I think it's in chapter 7, goes through things that do not make you successful. So things like procrastination, lack of resilience, failing to be persistent, all that sort of stuff. In terms of being successful though, which is what we want to focus on, he suggests like if you want success, you need to develop a success mindset. If you want money, you need to cultivate a money mindset. If you want health, you need to cultivate a healthy mindset. And in a world where we are surrounded by like lots of different messages and images that can distract and confuse our purpose and our direction, which is very much the case in the cyber world that we live in, information age. Having a clearly defined purpose and direction in terms of where you're going helps you cut out all the other junk in your life. And one thing I've definitely learnt, and this book is a testament to it as I've gotten older, is that whatever you focus on is what you get. Whatever you focus on is what you see, and whatever you focus on is what you get. And whatever you step towards is what you will receive. Whatever you ask for is what you will receive. So this idea that if you want money, if you want success, you need to step towards those things. You need to only focus on success. That means not focusing on failure. That means not even contemplating or giving any rise to any thoughts of failure. You need to 100% focus all of your attention and energy on success only. Disclaimer. I want to put a disclaimer out there because yesterday, I work as a solicitor. Yesterday, I had the police stop by my house because I had a client who had registered their address at my property, and this person is without a doubt most likely being, chased for some fraud issues. So there's the disclaimer, basically, is that what I've noticed is that when we lie to ourselves, or which could also be seen as self-hypnosis, when we want something so much and we only focus on that thing, sometimes we can lose touch with reality. Sometimes people lose their footing, they lose their sense of being grounded. And this is something that I've been really interested in, because in the time that I've worked as a solicitor, I have come across like a dozen to a little bit more than a dozen fraudsters. And these personalities are very curious to me because they are so convinced by their own lies that they are so convincing, because they believe the BS that they're spilling to you, right? And then you look at stuff like Think and Grow Rich, and you think, well, in this book you're being encouraged to actually be obsessed with and succeeding, and then not accepting failure as an option, right? So where is that sweet, healthy middle ground where you reality check? And I think for me personally, to date, what I've found really important is you need to have really, really good sounding boards around you. So you need people around you, and that's something that Get Obsessed with Success talks about. Think and Grow Rich talks about is you need to have a mastermind group. So you need people around you who are trustworthy, who are going to tell you how it is and keep you in check, keep you grounded in reality. You need real people with real skills around you. You need to be very, very careful about who you have your personal relationships with, who you trust and tell your personal dreams to, and then who you choose to have as your companions to move forward in your life. So this mastermind group in Think and Grow Rich is really important. Obviously, there's a little bit of a dilemma again for your usual layman person. In Australia, for example, it's traditionally been very common for people to send their children to very wealthy schools like, grammar schools and top schools, because it's about social networking. And the reason why it's about social networking is because later in life, obviously, these very affluent people from very affluent families that have had all the opportunities in the world will be your sounding boards. They will be your guides. They'll be the crew that you follow, that you take advice from and you get sounding from. And that's essential in terms of being successful. So what if you aren't one of those people? What if you don't have that repertoire with very affluent people, or you don't have that social circle? How do you go about infiltrating or penetrating these social circles so that you also can have those sounding boards? And one thing I think I've definitely come across in a lot of literature around self-development, and I actually subscribe to it as well. I don't see it as a bad thing. And it's my motto this year is, go where your energy is reciprocated, go where your energy is understood, where you're valued, and so forth. So not being attached to, blood ties, family ties, history. If you grow up in a toxic environment and you didn't have any good guidance and, your parents are dysfunctional and your family's dysfunctional and everything is, not great in terms of your social network, well, I would say go get some new friends. And there may be a period of isolation through that process. There may be a period of, self-reflection. I like to call it cocooning, recognizing that actually you only live one life and no one else is going to live your life for you. No one actually cares. And at the end of the day, people will talk about you whether you like it or not. People will talk about you whether you are successful or not. So don't worry about what people think about you and don't worry about what people say about you. Follow your heart. Take the step. Have the courage to take the step to take it to that next level and focus on things that are really, genuinely resonate with your heart, your soul, your desires, your purpose. These things are really important because when you start being authentic with yourself, when you start following your pathway to success, the right people will start coming into your circle. The universe will support you. That's my spiritual 2 cents on the whole matter. Speaking of spiritual 2 cents, this is also a critical part of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So obviously Think and Grow Rich was originally drafted, back in the 30s, and back then it was it was expected that everyone was Christian and they had faith. And so one thing that I love about Think and Grow Rich is that he does talk about faith, having faith, developing a faith mindset, repetition. So this auto-suggestion. So when he talks about auto-suggestion, this is one of the key elements. Recognizing that you don't get anything for nothing. So whatever you give is what you will receive. So if you want $1 million, you need to give $1 million worth of value to others. And that is how basically the program works. So you need to, in order to give $1 million worth of value, you need to know what your purpose is. You need to know what it is you're going to give to others in order to receive financial compensation. And then you need to become obsessed with completing your mission, fulfilling your purpose through the plan that you've created. He suggests, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a purpose, to meditate with yourself and demand of your subconscious mind, what is my purpose? What is my mission? What is the plan for me to succeed at this purpose? And then meditate on it every morning and every night. Write down your contract with yourself. Write down your purpose. Write down the statement of what you're going to give, how much money you're going to have, using SMART goals, when you're going to have that money by, how you're going to achieve it, what's your plan, and then repeat it to yourself every single morning and night and meditate on it until you become obsessed with it. Now, I had an experience a few years ago where I was repetitively doing some behavior, and I became obsessed. Repetition, the action of repetition leads to obsession, because you basically self-program. You program your subconscious mind to become obsessed. Another really great person that confirms this in terms of scientific evidence is Dr. Daniel Amen. He has done all this research on this, and basically there are two ways to approach things, and this is something that you'll find in neuropsychology as well. There are two ways to approach things. So either you're doing behaviors and you have a mindset, and then that leads to doing behaviors, or you do the behaviors, you go through the motions, and then you start cultivating the mindset. It doesn't matter which way you come at it. They're both effective processes. They're both effective steps towards achieving success in terms of cultivating that healthy mindset that you need to get successful in your life with your year. So, Think and Grow Rich. That is the motto this year. I'd like to really hope, so my personal goals this year, obviously, as you know, my purpose here is to help other people in the self-development space. I not only do that through Alpha Mama, I have a relationship breakdown program which is about helping people with their self-development to succeed in their life. I also have a legal practice, and that legal practice is also focused on helping to empower people to live their best lives. So everything that I do is focused on this purpose, but I would like to really, really hone in on being persistent and consistent this year, and really honing in on who I'm targeting, who I'm marketing to, and making sure that I'm providing real results that I can then have real compensation for. So I'd love to hear from you and hear about your plans for the year. What are your goals for this year? Are you going to read Think and Grow Rich? Have you got a mastermind group? Are there any suggestions you can give us about how to go about choosing your mastermind group, or cultivating those people around you in your life? And what he suggests with the mastermind group is actually meeting with these people like 2 to 3 times a week. I think if you're in business and you've ever heard of BNI is a great way to sort of cultivate that kind of network of people, like-minded people around you. But you've got to obviously be a good group and have good connections, and other business networks can be quite helpful like that as well. So on that note, that is the show for today. I am so excited to be back this year for 2023. I'm very happy for you to have met our little puppy dog, Max, who has joined me for the show today. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. We're still going to focus on the every week podcast, so I'm really excited to have you all on board this year, and I look forward to seeing you next week. I'd like this year to just sort of change it up a little bit and get more into entrepreneurship, health and fitness, having that really holistic approach to self-development and improving your life, because we're all on a journey of transformation at all times, and you're either transforming towards your best self, or you're transforming somewhere else. We don't know, but life is change, so get used to it. This is Alpha Mama. Great to see you guys again this year. Over and out. Ciao.